Welcome to the Diva D-Town. Welcome to the Diva D-Town, where bold, confident women embrace life unapologetically. From love and sex to wellness and reinvention, we keep it raw, real, and powerful. No filters, no limits. Just fearless conversations to help you thrive. Let's dive in with Diva Mia and Diva Cat.
Oh, hello. This is Diva Mia, and I am going to talk to you a little bit today about vaginal dryness and pain related to vaginal dryness, and then not wanting to have sex because of the vaginal dryness. I had several people reach out to me that have had problems with vaginal dryness and wanted me to expand upon that because I think it's a problem that nobody wants to talk about as one of the when you're going through menopause, and it can be extremely problematic. And then I want to talk about some fixes that actually help, because if you're having vaginal dryness, you may not have much desire. So let's talk about something millions of women experience and almost nobody wants to talk about. It's when sex suddenly hurts. Maybe it didn't hurt last year and all of a sudden, ouch, it really hurts. When you have sex, maybe you need more time in foreplay. I know a lot of times in our 40s and 50s, it's kind of repetitive and you've been having sex with your partners for a while, but you may need more foreplay than you used to before. And if it didn't hurt 6 months ago and lately there's dryness, burning, or it's irritated, or you even might even have a little bit of blood after sex, penetration can feel very uncomfortable. And a lot of women try to tough it out. I know I was one of those women that tried to tough it out for a while. And you need more time to get aroused. You may also need that hormonal changes. You may need to go talk to your doctors about getting on hormones. Sometimes I would just think maybe I just don't want to have sex with him anymore. I'm just not turned on by him. But that doesn't mean that everything has to change. There are so many things you can do. Immediately, everybody jumps to, oh, your libido's just gone and it's your hormones must be low. But it's not always. Sometimes it's your testosterone, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's that you're getting older. But you know what? I don't believe in just getting older anymore. There's so many fixes for things that we used to assume that, oh, you're getting older, so you have to just deal with it. It's broken now. I don't agree with that. But maybe you no longer are attracted to your partner. That happens. Just maybe you've lost attraction. Maybe you need to spice things up in the bedroom. Maybe you need more fun with intimacy or more connection. So hold on. Don't just assume that you don't want to have sex with them anymore because of that, because a lot of times we think we don't want to have sex because it's painful. But it may just mean you need to find ways to make it less painful. And when we find ways to make it less painful, then our libido returns around sex. Those are two different problems. I don't want to have sex versus I don't want something to hurt are two different problems. If every time someone offered you dinner, they also punched you in the arm, eventually you might say, ooh, I'm done eating dinner. I just want to have lunch. So our brain learns to avoid pain, and we drive towards pleasure in our brain. Pleasure teaches you to come back for more, whereas pain teaches you to avoid it. So this is one of the things I think we need to teach more kids, is that so many kids are always just for the pleasure, and they forget that, you need to also avoid pain. So today we're going to discuss vaginal dryness, painful sex, and the loss of desire that can follow because of it. So more importantly, we're going to talk about the things that can actually help too, because many women, we don't discuss this, and comfort comes before desire, and it needs to feel good, ladies. We're not just there as a tool for our men. It needs to feel really good. If it doesn't feel really good, you're not going to have orgasms, and orgasms are amazing. And honestly, as we get older, a lot of us are more multiple orgasmic than we ever were in our lives. The first thing is, why did sex suddenly start to feel different? Did it happen because of menopause? After menopause, estrogen levels decline. You have to realize that as estrogen declines, the vaginal tissue and the vulvar tissue, it decreases. Those tissues, as estrogen declines, it gets thinner, it's drier, it's less elastic, it's not as flexible. It can get irritated if you're having a lot of friction in the area when you're having sex. It can be more sensitive. Some women experience burning or itching as well. They might have a yeast infection. There might be something else going on. So notice if you're having pain during penetration, because sometimes urinary urgency is a urinary tract infection. Those happen more often as you get older. It can also be that one of the things that my doctor told me, because I was getting urinary tract infection, they go, you need to pee right after you're done having sex. It also matters if biome related to your sexual organs, if that biome is off with you or with your partner, or if your biomes don't get along very well. There's things that can cause urinary tract infections, but try to start just peeing after sex, okay? That's one good way. There's also cranberry you can take before sex, which has helped a little bit, but Pee after sex. That'll help. But most women, the doctors call it's a syndrome after menopause. Instead of just saying things don't feel real right there, you can say, could I have something going on with my vaginal dryness or urinary tract area? Because we have we need to have a productive conversation when we see our doctors, because you can't just say it doesn't feel right. You should say, hey, I'm really dry, or I keep getting urinary tract infections and I keep coming in for those. Is there something else going on? But unlike hot flashes, which usually improve over time, vaginal and urinary symptoms because of estrogen loss, it can get worse. It doesn't usually disappear unless you treat it. Don't assume you have to wait it out, because there's treatments, ladies, for this. Pain is kind of a desire loop too. When your libido gets involved, imagine sex is very uncomfortable. You think maybe it'll be better tonight. This one night it'll be better. Then it happens again. Then the third time, before eventually you start saying, oh, your brain says, I don't want to have sex, because you're anticipating the pain. Your pelvic muscle gets tighter. You're like, ugh, I don't want to have sex. Lubrication doesn't work as easily. Sometimes you can add lubrication, but sometimes that doesn't even work. So your body isn't relaxed. It tightens up, and penetration becomes even more uncomfortable. So now you've created a loop of, I have pain around sex. I have anxiety. I create tension around this. That increased pain, it eventually drops your desire. That's why I want you to stop assuming that every loss of interest in sex is a hormone problem, because a lot of times that's not the original reason. It can be tissue changes as well. By the time pain, though, has been happening for a month or two, you can also have muscular responses down there. It can be triggering down there, because your body remembers it. It's not a weakness. It's conditioning. It's like Pavlov's dog. It's like ringing a bell. You're going to go have sex, and now everything hurts. And if you touch a hot stove repeatedly over and over again, you're eventually going to stop touching that stove. That's what we learn as people. If sex repeatedly hurts, your brain might begin shutting down before the sex even starts. So your desire is gone. And a lot of times people are like, oh, just use lube instead. But that's not always working. Lubricant it can be useful. It can be helpful, but it's not a vaginal moisturizer. So when the skin is getting thinner, it doesn't work so well, guys. And sometimes you use, you might have a little frisky sex and the lubricant is not working. There are vaginal moisturizers that you can use as regular skincare. There's treatments you can have on the vaginal area. And it's important distinction. Many women, they reach for the lubricant and they already feel dry and uncomfortable, and then they get dry right away again. And they use a tiny amount because apparently we've decided that lubricant should be rationed or something. I don't know. I have a huge bottle next to my nightstand, but a lot of women don't want to use a lot of lubricant, and you need to use plenty. And there's no reason to have not to have extra lubricant. There is no medal for surviving sex with insufficient lubrication. If it's dry 5 minutes in, you can always lubricate. It happens. Men have erectile dysfunction. Women, we get a little dry. I'd rather get dry than have erectile dysfunction. So think about it that way, ladies. There's different products work differently. I like water-based lubricants, and they're easier to clean up. There's silicone-based lubricants, but they generally last longer. I just prefer the water-based. Some oil-based can also be good, but it can damage condoms. If you're using condoms, be careful if you're using oil-based lubricants. And if a product burns or stings you, it's causing a reaction. Stop using it right away. And you may need to go rinse it out too. I had a problem one time where it caused a major irritation and you have to rinse it out right away. So you're tested on your skin first before you insert it internally. I highly recommend that. But your body, it isn't obligated to tolerate pain. So, it has to say intimate before you use it. I like coconut oil, I will say, but I don't know how good coconut oil is with condoms. So that's a caveat if you're using coconut oil. But I do like coconut oil down there for daily moisturizing as well as a lubricant. For me, it works very well. And I wish somebody else told me about coconut oil when I was younger, because I was like, and then I used it. I was like, I'm just going to put this on every day. Now it's part of my skincare regimen, but I use coconut oil daily. If there's warming ingredients in some of these lubricants, you have to be careful, because if you have sensitive skin, especially down there, it can cause a problem. Simply having it more often is not better. Realize that. There's also vaginal moisturizers too. So there's different moisturizers that people use that we overlook. A vaginal moisturizer isn't necessarily something used during sex. It's something you can put on in the morning, noon, and night, whenever you want to use it. It can be used several times a week, depending on the product and what it says on the instructions. But the objective is to improve everyday comfort and moisturizing, and the moisturizing feel and how the suppleness of your skin, basically. If dryness is mild, a moisturizer can take the significant edge off. If it's major, and when I say dryness, ladies, if it's dry down there and you're walking, you can get chafed inside your lips, if you will, because it's too dry. realize it can cause other problems as well. And consistency is the key words. You wouldn't use facial moisturizers once and expect everything to be better. You need to use it consistently and use it as directed and give it time. That sometimes things take time to work. But if it's burning or dry, go get checked out for a sexually transmitted disease too, because sometimes you never know what your man was doing. For some women, over-the-counter moisturizers and lubricants are enough. But if you're burning or it's completely uncomfortable, you may need to go investigate further. When it's causing bleeding or any type of irritation, that's making it difficult to function. Let's talk about estrogens. We have symptoms related to menopause when we decrease our estrogen. There is something called low-dose vaginal estrogen. It's an insert. It's a tablet. I do use this. It's different than taking systemic estrogen for symptoms like throughout the body, but because the inserts, the tablets that just go in, it's just for vaginal dryness, and it works really well. I think it works well. It works well for me anyway. It can come in a cream. Mine's a tablet, and it's inserted. You can also get a vaginal ring that does the low-dose estrogen. The goal is not merely to make everything more slippery. It's to treat the estrogen-related tissue changes. So it helps the thickness of the vaginal wall. It helps it be more supple. And that matters because lubricant, it helps with the friction. It may help with the actual sex, but vaginal estrogen is going to help long-term. It's going to help recondition the tissue itself. I love my vaginal estrogen. I probably don't do it as much as I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to do it, every few days, but I probably get it once a week, but it's still working very well for me. So for most women, moderate symptoms, it can make a major difference. It made a major difference for me, and I love my low-dose vaginal estrogen. If you have a history of estrogen sensitivity or cancer, you need to talk to your doctor before you do any hormones because there are estrogen-related cancers. So don't just assume local vaginal estrogen is okay. You need to talk to your doctor before you do anything. Ask your doctor. Get the, actual information and make sure it's not going to cause any problems. There's other types of estrogen as well. Anything you're doing with estrogen, you always have to talk to your doctor, especially if you had previous medical problems. There's also prescriptions that exist. Vaginal estrogen is the only prescription option. If you're doing vaginal estrogen, it's already going to be a prescription. But there's other treatments that can be done. You have options. I mean, that's what this whole episode is about, that you have options. We've talked about vaginal dryness as a physical thing. You can use lubricant, but there's, you can't spend the next 5 years constantly having lubricant when you have there's a medical treatment plan that can be used to actually fix the problem. I think that's the goal, is we need to learn to start fixing problems instead of just masking the symptoms, because lubrication alone, it's just going to mask the symptoms. It's going to make intercourse a little less painful, but it still may be painful. So if it's still painful with lubricant, you need to talk to your doctor. This is, it may affect your entire sexual relationship, specifically symptoms, that produce better medical conversation. It's embarrassing. I understand that, but you need to talk to your doctor. All right. Pelvic floor may also be part of the problem. Here's something that a lot of women don't realize. There's a lot of physical therapy now. There's specific machines that can actually help you tighten your pelvic floor. The pelvic floor helps keep your bladder in, helps with bowel and sexual function. And people often assume that the pelvic floor therapy is only for women who leak urine, and it's not. The pelvic floor also can help you become a little bit tighter. And sometimes the pelvic floor muscles are too tight. So there's that as well. If your muscles are involuntarily tightening in response to anticipating pain because you're having pain during sex, it's going to become more painful. A pelvic floor physical therapist can evaluate what's going on down there. Treatment, it can involve relaxing the muscles. There's a chair that actually helps with pelvic floor. It is a little bit costlier expense. There's breathing techniques. There's stretching. There's exercises. Not every pelvic floor needs more Kegels, just so you know. Some of us don't need any more Kegels. Sometimes women are squeezing that muscle that actually needs to learn how to relax, because sometimes it's too tight. Just realize that, ladies. When it's too tight, that can cause pain. So just realize, just because you've been doing 100,000 Kegels this week, you might have actually caused the sex pain that you're having. There's another very inexpensive treatment that couples ignore, is just slow down. Women's bodies are not a pounding machine at the same speed they were in their 20s. So arousal may take longer, lubrication may take longer, foreplay may need to take longer, and it's okay. It means that the runway just needs to be a little longer to get you to your final destination. Sometimes, as a couple, you still are, you're doing the exact same thing, routine that you did in your 30s, and You had 3 minutes of initial infection followed, but let's go. And your body's saying, wait, I'm not even turned on yet. So you're going to need a little bit more preparation, more kissing, touching, stimulation, potentially oral sex, relaxation, and communication. Just takes your time. Sex should be pleasurable for both people. And ladies, if you're not having good sex, then you need to really fix this because sex can be amazing. And frankly, it's necessary to talk to your partner about this because this should not be a negative experience for you. Sex becomes, when it's less rushed and more intentional, it's better for you and it's better for them. Hopefully you have a partner that cares about your satisfaction as well. Otherwise, you probably need to find a different partner if you have a boyfriend relationship. If you have a marriage, go talk to a therapist. That's why I always recommend first. But stop pushing through the pain. This one needs to be said clearly. I was in a marriage where I was having a little bit of pain from sex and I pushed through the pain a lot. I should not have done it because it makes it less enjoyable for you and it doesn't make you happy. And I don't think it really makes your partner happy either. Because if you're having painful sex, you really need to go talk to your doctor. But here's the thing. Nobody told me that. I just thought it was part of aging, part of menopause, and there wasn't a fix. And when I talked to my doctor, I heard the same thing. I needed a different doctor. Painful sex should not be that way. And then you start avoiding intercourse because of the pain. And then you've lost your sex and you've lost touching and cuddling and your closeness. And you're exhausted in any way. There's lots of reasons not to have sex, but pain is such a big one. So if something hurts, stop and let them know, hey, that hurts. It did not feel good. And if you have a partner that doesn't care, you're probably with the wrong partner. All right, moving on. And then expand your definition of sex. Here's another place couples get stuck. Sex does not just equal penetration. Nope. Sexual intimacy is much broader than just penetration. If penetration hurts, then try treating the cause. You can kiss, you can touch, massage, use hands. You can have oral sex, have orgasms without penetration, be affectionate, be playful. For me, oral sex is a huge part of sex. If I have no oral sex, it's not as pleasurable for me, I will say. Stay physically connected. This can be especially important while you're rebuilding confidence with your sex, especially if you were going through a lot of painful sex. Your brain needs to experience this and say intimacy feels good. You need to rewrite or rechange those pathways in your brain so that you're like not saying, here comes the pain again, so that you're enjoying your sex. And your partner needs to understand this. If you're partnered with somebody that doesn't understand you sexually, it can be very frustrating. Explain to them what happens. You need to have them go to the doctor with you so they can hear it from the doctor. Don't do it while you're in the middle of having sex and have a clinical discussion that kind of kill the mood. Just saying, have the conversation outside the bedroom. Say, my body has changed and intercourse has started hurting. I still want closeness with you, but it hurts. Can we slow down the pace or can we, do more foreplay or more oral sex, or can I have an orgasm before we have sex? That way you don't have to deal with the pain during sex. Stop using products as well that irritate you. If you're using some type of product, even perfume wipes, that was one of the things I was interested in, is like a lot of people use those wet wipes now, and sometimes that can cause irritation or dryness. Bubble baths can, sometimes a deodorant spray, douches, but if you have odor coming from down there, or if it smells like pina coladas or I don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't have a strong odor coming from there. So check that out with your doctor too, because sometimes that can be a disease or STD or a urinary tract infection. So make sure you track all that out. And then sometimes you just need to change your soaps or your detergent or just different personal hygiene products. So don't assume every burning sensation is menopause. Then dryness can cause burning and irritation, but so can other conditions like yeast infections, bacterial infections, STDs, urinary tract infections can cause problems, but so can also the pelvic floor. So talk to your gynecologist or doctor. And if the symptoms keep getting worse, you need to get examined, especially if you're experiencing bleeding after intercourse or, postmenopausal bleeding that you thought you went through menopause and now you're bleeding. Or you get a weird discharge. That's a red flag. Go get that checked out. Or if you have any sores or lesions, you may need to get checked out for all kinds of different things. Any odors, pain, or discharge. Those are like 3 key things that you need to get checked out for. And urinary pain is significant, ladies, and UTIs are significant. So you need to go get a culture run if you're having urinary pain of any kind. The next thing I wanted to talk about is just UTIs. And UTIs are urinary tract infections. It's when you get an infection inside your urinary tract, which can go to your kidneys. You have to be careful of that. A lot of times when you have estrogen-related changes, it can affect the bladder region and the urethra. Some women, we notice it because we have to pee more often. It might be burning. I didn't really get UTIs until I turned 45. And then if I had sex where I wasn't really lubricated well, I was more likely to get a a bladder infection. And then I didn't know I had to pee after every intercourse thing right away, because if you pee right away, that does help. So any urinary symptoms, it's not necessarily menopause. It can be an infection of another kind, but definitely get it checked out. And now let's kind of cover the final thing I want to talk about, which was desire. I don't want to have sex. When you think that over and over again, because of pain that you've experienced, it changes your mindset. It also changes your lubrication down there. But if sex is hurting, it's going to make you more dry anyway. And then it's kind of a repetitive cycle. So your desire still, if it's not returned after you get wetness back, and it's not returned after you've addressed any sleep or mental issues related to your partner or your stress levels, then you may have a libido issue. There's sleep, stress, hormones, quality of relationship, all that stuff we went over before, medications, all those things can affect your sleep. It can affect your libido. Libido is such an interesting thing because vaginal discomfort for women is it's going to put a brake on sex. It just will. But libido can be affected by so many different things. It doesn't necessarily push the accelerator when you fix it, but removing the pain helps. And that's the key idea is sometimes women, we try to create more libido while the body says, hey, everything hurts. Let's stop for a little bit. It's like you need a sexual reset. When that happens, just say not tonight. If it's painful, you're going to have to fix that. You're going to have to realize maybe I need to get some vaginal estrogen, or maybe I need to figure out what's going on down there. You may need to talk to your doctor. This vaginal dryness is a talk to your doctor thing. You can't just skip that step because there's so many treatments out there that you really need to address it because it can get really painful and a lot of things can cause irritation. And doctors are used to having the conversation, especially if it's an OBGYN. They're used to having this conversation. Intimate hygiene products you can use, but get examined if it hurts in any way. Also, kind of consider your pelvic floor. You may need to do some work on that. But take penetration off the table if it hurts. Create intimacy around other things until you can get this resolved. There's other ways to have sexual pleasure without having intercourse. And then take your time. Don't rush so much. Make sure you communicate with your partner and tell them how you feel. What you can do is you can gradually reintroduce penetration as it feels better. It's comfort first, not performance. Don't feel like you're going to, destroy your boyfriend's ego if it hurts. I mean, that might boost his ego. Oh yeah, I'm a big man. So just realize if you're having pain, you may need to discuss it. If you've experienced any of these symptoms, make sure you start talking to a doctor. Make an appointment if the dryness or the pain gets really bad, or if you're bleeding or have any unexpected infections or pain. I want women to remember from today's episode that painful sex is not something you have to accept because you're getting older. Lubricants, vaginal moisturizers, I love my coconut oil. Lubricant reduces friction. Make sure you're not allergic to coconut oil, by the way. But moisturizer is used greatly and regularly for vaginal dryness, as well as inserts. If over-the-counter products aren't enough, then talk to your doctor about a prescription. If there's any dryness, you should be talking to your doctor. You should also talk to your doctor if a pelvis floor dysfunction could be a possible issue. But don't force yourself to have painful sex because it's going to make you not want to have sex, and then it's going to cause more friction in your relationship. You may not hate sex, you just hate what's going on related to sex currently, and this is completely different problem and can be solved. Determine what the true issue is, and then you can actually treat it. So, ladies, there is no prize for quietly suffering through painful sex. I will say I tried, and I try to take it, and you need to get it resolved. You don't get extra bonus points because you smiled and pretended everything felt fine. Speak up. Use lubricant. Use enough of it. Use extra lubricant if you need to. Try moisturizer. Try coconut oil if you're not allergic, and talk to your gynecologist. Vaginal estrogen helps me tremendously, I will say, as well as coconut oil. If you tell your partner what you need, hopefully they will listen and you guys can work it out together. Because the objective here isn't simply to have more sex. It's to have pleasurable sex. It's to feel good. It's to enjoy it. Once it feels good and comfortable again, I will say, ladies, in your 50s, your libido may go into overdrive. So sometimes desire didn't leave. It's just waiting for you, the pain to leave first so that you can come back to reality and enjoy sex again. If this helped anyone, please forward it to a friend. I look forward to hearing all your comments after this one. And take care. Have a wonderful week. This is Diva Mia. Stay strong, stay happy, and enjoy your sex. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We'd love hearing from you. Visit thedivadetails.com to connect. See you next week for more.
Diva Details podcast and website are intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. The content provided does not constitute professional, medical, financial, or legal advice. We are not licensed medical practitioners, financial advisors, or legal professionals. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any financial topics discussed are based on personal opinions and experience and should not be considered professional advice. The content provided does not constitute legal advice. The Diva Details and its affiliate contributors and guests are not liable for any losses or damages arising from the use of our content. The opinions expressed in the podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organization, sponsors, or partners. All facts discussed in the podcast are researched and accurate to the best of our knowledge at the time of recording. Information may change over time. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements or opinions presented. It is the responsibility of the listener to verify any and all facts that may influence their decision. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.